The year is 69 AD, and Rome is tearing itself apart. 4 different generals claim the throne in a single year, turning the city's streets into a massive, burning battleground. Caught in the crossfire is an 18-year-old boy named Domitian. To avoid execution by a rival faction, he smuggles himself out of the besieged capital by putting on the robes of an Egyptian cult and hiding among the worshippers of Isis. While Domitian was dodging patrols in a civilian disguise, his father, Vespasian, and older brother Titus were halfway across the world, commanding legions and conquering Judea. When the dust finally settled, his family had founded a new imperial dynasty, but Domitian was sidelined. He was given a string of empty ceremonial titles and intentionally kept as far away from actual governing power as possible. That dynamic held until the year 81 AD, when Emperor Titus contracted a sudden fatal fever. Almost immediately, whispers circulated through Rome that Domitian had either poisoned him or simply left him for dead. Regardless of how it happened, Domitian wasted no time. He bypassed the Senate, secured the backing of the Praetorian Guard, and seized the Roman Empire for himself. He had zero military respect and no practical experience. He was now the absolute ruler of the known world, but he had spent his entire life feeling inadequate compared to the battle-tested men in his family. That deep-seated insecurity quickly curdled into something incredibly dangerous. Take a look at this silver coin. The profile stamped here was part of the tightly curated imperial brand Domitian projected to the world. While previous emperors maintained the polite fiction that Rome was still a republic, Domitian dropped the act. He gutted the Senate's authority and demanded to be addressed as Lord and God. He backed up that divine authority with sheer mass. To cement his family's legacy, he added the finishing touches to the largest entertainment venue the world had ever seen, the stone arches of the Flavian Amphitheater, better known today as the Colosseum. For himself, he commissioned the sprawling Flavian Palace. Built high on the Palatine Hill, its massive brick architecture physically elevated Domitian above the senatorial class he so deeply despised. To keep the Roman masses distracted, he funded bizarre public spectacles, including mock naval battles and female gladiator fights, reminding the public that their entertainment existed solely by his grace. But behind the marble walls, the Lord and God of Rome was deeply isolated. Ancient biographers report that he spent hours locked alone in his study, amusing himself by catching houseflies and skewering them with a sharp metal writing stylus, much like this one. He also appointed himself as the supreme judge of public morality, reviving ancient, brutal punishments. When he accused the chief Vestal Virgin of breaking her vow of chastity, he ordered her to be buried alive in an underground chamber. Yet his personal life was a string of scandals. He had his wife's favorite actor murdered in the street, and he carried on a long-running affair with his own niece, Julia, which only ended when he forced her into an abortion that killed her. As his reign dragged on, his isolation morphed into severe paranoia. He began executing senators on the faintest suspicion of treason. He even ordered the porticos where he walked to be lined with highly polished fangite stone, creating a mirror-like surface so he could see anyone creeping up behind him. Domitian thought he was securing his life through terror. Instead, he made it clear to his inner circle that nobody was safe. He had turned the imperial palace into a highly polished prison, and his own staff realized that to survive, they had to kill him. By September of 96 AD, the emperor's purges reached his own relatives and closest secretaries. Knowing they were likely next on the execution list, his chamberlains decided to strike first. The physical task fell to Stephanus, an imperial steward. For several days, Stephanus complained of a severe arm injury, carefully wrapping his forearm in thick layers of wool and linen. Hidden inside those bandages was a dagger. Using his security clearance, Stephanus approached the emperor's private bedroom. He handed Domitian a forged document, claiming it contained the names of men actively plotting a coup. As Domitian read the paper, Stephanus pulled the blade from his bandages and drove it directly into the emperor's groin. Domitian didn't go down easily. He tackled Stephanus to the floor, fighting wildly, tearing at the steward's face and trying to gouge out his eyes with his bare hands. Pinned on the ground, the emperor screamed at an attendant boy to grab the emergency dagger he kept tucked under his pillow every night. But when the boy grabbed the scabbard, he found a useless hilt. The conspirators had already removed the iron blade. Completely disarmed, Domitian was defenseless when the rest of the conspirators smashed through the locked bedroom doors and hacked him to death. When news of the assassination broke, the Roman Senate was ecstatic. They rushed the chamber and immediately voted for damnatio memoriae, the total legal damnation of his memory. Across the empire, crowds tied ropes around his statues and pulled them to the ground. His face was melted off bronze plaques, and stonemasons took chisels to public monuments to physically carve his name out of Roman history. Domitian demanded to be worshipped as a living god. But his relentless need to control and terrify everyone around him engineered his own butchery, guaranteeing he would be remembered only as the tyrant he tried so desperately not to be.